Archipelago allies? Think again. China's honeymoon with the Philippines might be over. Indonesia, with its bulging pockets and overflowing resource chest, seems to be the new hot date in Southeast Asia. Is the Philippines about to get dumped? Why is China moving closer to Indonesia? Answers might surprise many. We expose the raw truth behind China's strategic tango and why the Philippines might be left with just the leis. But before we get the answer, we might want to go back to where it all started. This is the South China Sea. It's one of the world's busiest shipping routes, and vast oil and gas reserves lie beneath the seabed. In 1947, China laid claim to a large portion of the South China Sea using a boundary marked by 9 dashes. Vietnam swiftly followed suit, claiming ownership over certain islands in the same area. The conflict escalated when the Philippines also staked a claim on the Spratly Islands. Malaysia and Brunei subsequently joined in, basing their claims on their respective exclusive economic zones. Notably, Indonesia stands out as the only major country in the region that refrains from making any territorial claims in the area. Since the onset of the South China Sea dispute, Indonesia has consistently emphasized its neutral stance and positioned itself as a mediator, aiming to facilitate peaceful resolutions among the involved parties. But what if I tell you that this isn't the primary reason for China coming closer to Indonesia? To understand the root cause, we might want to knock at the doors of history. Centuries ago, the Philippines and China were like maritime pen pals, exchanging goods and ideas across the South China Sea. Filipino traders brought back Chinese silk and porcelain, while Chinese merchants craved Filipino pearls and spices. Fast forward to the 20th century, their relationship took a detour. The Philippines, aligned with the US during the Cold War, viewed Communist China with suspicion. But by the 1970s, a new chapter began. The Philippines, eager to diversify its trade partners, established official ties with China, the giant with overflowing shelves of manufactured goods. This marked the blossoming of a beautiful economic partnership. China became the Philippines' biggest customer, snapping up electronics and sending tourist hordes to its pristine beaches. The Philippines, in turn, benefited from affordable Chinese goods and a booming economy. Students and workers flowed between the two countries, fostering cultural exchange. Filipino families enjoyed affordable Chinese smartphones, and China reveled in delicious Filipino mangoes. It was a win-win. However, tensions began to simmer beneath the surface. The neighbors had a disagreement, a big one. They couldn't quite agree on who owned some prime real estate by the sea, a cluster of islands in the South China Sea. China claimed a vast swath of the area, including parts traditionally fished by Filipinos. This maritime dispute cast a shadow over their sunny relationship. Filipinos worried about China becoming too dominant, while China felt its claims were being unfairly challenged. This tug-of-war spilled over into the economic realm. Some Filipinos, wary of dependence on the powerful neighbor, called for diversification. They looked to other countries for trade and investment. Despite the tensions, the economic ties remained strong, bound by a complex web of investments, tourism, and overseas workers. Thousands of Filipinos still found jobs in China, and Chinese tourists continue to flock to the Philippine shores. But before we move forward, we need to explore China-Indonesia's historic ties. And if you like what you see, subscribe to the channel and like the video. For centuries, Indonesia and China were like cultural cousins, their traditions and spices mingling along ancient trade routes. Indonesian merchants brought back Chinese silks and ceramics, while Chinese ships craved Indonesian spices and exotic fruits. But by the 1990s, a new era dawned. Indonesia, eager to jumpstart its economy, embraced China, the rising powerhouse with factories churning out everything from toys to electronics. This marked the beginning of a booming economic partnership. China became Indonesia's biggest trading partner, buying its natural resources and filling its tourist spots with eager visitors. Indonesia, in turn, enjoyed a flood of affordable goods and a surge in economic growth. Students and tourists flowed between the two countries, creating a vibrant cultural exchange. Indonesian families enjoyed cheap Chinese smartphones, and China reveled in Indonesian coffee. It seemed like a perfect harmony. But while the Philippines enjoyed a strong economic partnership with China, Indonesia emerged as the more crucial player. Its vast resources fueled China's industrial machine, and its strategic location offered a vital trade artery. This shift, however, wasn't without its challenges. Both the Philippines and Indonesia had disagreements with China regarding territorial claims in the South China Sea. These disputes cast a shadow over the economic partnerships, with some Filipinos feeling wary of China's growing dominance, particularly over contested fishing grounds near the Spratly Islands. Despite the tensions, the economic ties between China and Indonesia remain strong. Thousands of Indonesians found jobs in China's factories, and Chinese tourists continue to flock to Indonesian beaches, drawn by the allure of Bali's stunning landscapes and vibrant culture. The future of this relationship hinges on their ability to navigate the maritime disputes and build trust. Will they find a way to coexist peacefully and create a win-win situation, perhaps through joint exploration ventures in the South China Sea? Here's where the Philippines and Indonesia diverge in China's strategic calculus. The Philippines, with its smaller population of around 110 million compared to Indonesia's 270 million, offers less economic clout. While the tourism industry, particularly in Boracay, remains a draw for Chinese tourists, China can find similar offerings elsewhere in Southeast Asia. The Philippines' strategic location, while valuable, isn't as critical as Indonesia's, given its position astride major shipping lanes like the aforementioned Strait of Malacca. Indonesia, on the other hand, presents a more compelling long-term partner. Its vast population represents a significant consumer market for China's exports, eager for everything from smartphones to construction materials. Its rich resources feed China's industrial engine, and its strategic location ensures the smooth flow of goods. China's growing focus on securing natural resources and ensuring unobstructed trade routes makes Indonesia a natural partner. For instance, China's Belt and Road Initiative, the BRI, has led to investment in Indonesian infrastructure projects such as the Jakarta-Bandung High-Speed Railway. This economic partnership aligns with Indonesia's development goals and fosters mutual benefits. Economic relations between Indonesia and China are not without challenges. Trade imbalances, intellectual property issues, and concerns over market access have been sources of tension. Indonesia has sought to address these issues through bilateral trade agreements, investment regulations, and initiatives to promote balanced trade. Moreover, competition between Indonesian and Chinese companies in sectors such as manufacturing and infrastructure development has led to calls for greater cooperation and fair competition mechanisms. But still, China considers it a safer partner. But the South China Sea dispute casts a shadow over their economic ties. Interestingly, the relationship seemed to fluctuate with Philippine leadership. During administrations more receptive to China, tensions eased somewhat. However, the 2016 International Tribunal ruling that favored the Philippines in its case against China's expansive claims in the South China Sea significantly strained relations. The situation deteriorated further with frequent face-offs between Chinese and Philippine Coast Guard vessels near the disputed Spratly Islands. The presence of the new U.S. in the Philippines throws another wrench into the equation. The U.S. maintains 4 new military bases in the Philippines, a legacy of their long-standing alliance. The 4 new sites are Naval Base Camilo Ocias in Santa Ana, Cagayan, Camp Melchor de la Cruz in Gamu, Isabela, Balabac Island in Palawan, and Lalo Airport in Cagayan. This close military relationship with a strategic competitor of China makes China wary of deepening its ties with the Philippines. The U.S. military presence is seen by China as a potential obstacle to its dominance in the region. The Philippines' pivot towards the U.S., particularly after the 2016 ruling, created a hurdle for China, pushing them to look elsewhere in Southeast Asia. This is where Indonesia enters the picture. Unlike the Philippines, Indonesia doesn't have a complex security arrangement with another major power. This, coupled with its vast resources and strategic location, makes Indonesia a more natural long-term partner for China. China's growing focus on securing natural resources and ensuring unobstructed trade routes aligns perfectly with Indonesia's strategic importance. The Strait of Malacca, a vital choke point for global trade, acts as a natural bridge for Chinese goods, highlighting Indonesia's logistical advantage. This shift in China's focus doesn't negate the importance of the Philippines. The Philippines remains a significant trading partner and a tourist destination for China. However, as China's economic and strategic ambitions grow, Indonesia, with its sheer size, resources, and strategic location, seems to be taking center stage in China's calculus for Southeast Asia. The complex interplay between territorial disputes, historical alliances, and economic interests will undoubtedly continue to shape the dynamics between China, the Philippines, and Indonesia. The future holds the answer to whether these partnerships can overcome the challenges and create a lasting win-win for all parties involved. Overall, China's approach to Southeast Asia is characterized by a nuanced understanding of historical legacies, economic opportunities, and strategic imperatives. By leveraging past precedents and present circumstances, China seeks to enhance its influence and advance its interests in the dynamic geopolitical landscape of the region. So, what are your thoughts on this love triangle? Do let me know in the comments. And if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and please like the video. And do watch our video on the French economy.